Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm here to do a recent reads video. I was going to do an April wrap up, but then I realized I didn't read a ton of stuff in April, so we're gonna do recent reads. I don't know why I stopped doing recent reads. They helped with my reading more so than doing a monthly wrap up. So yeah, I have about 6 or 7 titles to talk about. It's a mixture of things in terms of what I read. So the first thing that I want to talk about is The Box in the Woods by Maureen. This is the 4th book in the Truly Devious series that she had. If you are familiar with the series, it was really popular when it was ongoing. I don't know if it still is after this 4th book, but the first 3 books are books that follow a actual storyline, and it's a mystery that spans 3 books. I really enjoyed the mystery. It wasn't my favorite thing. I'll talk about that soon, why that series wasn't perfect, but for the most part I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the mysteries. I love details in a story, and obviously a mystery that spans 3 books, you're gonna get a lot of details. However, that mystery wraps up pretty nicely in those 3 books. And then the 4th book follows the same characters, or mostly the same characters, with a different mystery. And I get the author trying to continue a series that they worked on. It's already an established series, like money wise that would be more smarter for her. You've already established these characters. I get it. This does not have to be a 4th book in a series. I think the author could have very easily done another teen sleuth type character. Before I get ahead of myself, this book follows our main investigative teen sleuth, Stevie. Stevie, after she has solved the case in the first 3 novels, she gets invited to investigate this crime that occurred on a campgrounds in the 70s. The new owner's hey, I heard that you solved this other case, you want to come solve this one? He's a little bit of an eccentric character, and Stevie's yes, I would love to. She just loves solving crimes. She loves solving puzzles, so this is just this is candy to her. And I did the elements overall. It's a bunch of teens got murdered in the woods, very slasher elements. I thought that was cool, but like I said, this really did not have to follow those first 3 books. It depends on how much you liked those characters coming on over into this 4th book in a new setting, in a new story. If you really like them, then this will be a plus for you. I like Stevie in general, I do, but the one thing that I really had problems with those first 3 Truly Devious books was that the characters are very frustrating sometimes, and the romance that was put into those first 3 books was not my favorite thing. I can see that her love interest does care about her and does stuff for her and make sure that she's healthy and cool, but I get nothing from him. It's just the lack of charisma that I get from him, the lack of anything that I get from them as a couple. On paper I can see that they're a nice couple, but I don't feel much when it comes to those relationships. And it could be because I'm older and these are teen, it's a teen romance in this teen mystery. But yeah, she brought 2 friends along from the earlier books. They really didn't do much in terms of helping solve the mystery. So again, that's what I mean, this did not have to follow the same characters. I think the author could have created a new teen sleuth character. Her boyfriend, who shows up halfway through the book, he also did not do much in terms of actually helping solve the mystery. They were kind of just there for moral support, which is fine. Early on, we kind of are told the story of what happened to these teens in the woods and what the general public thinks happened, theories and all that kind of stuff that happens with the true crime community. Stevie learns of this and she kind of studies up on the crime a little bit before going on over to investigate the campgrounds. And then the majority of the actual story was her going to different people and just asking what do they think happened, and they pretty much just reiterate parts of the story that we were already told. And then before I knew it, we were at the end already. At no point was there really ever an extra bit of information that I was oh my god, it could have been the farmer, or it could have been the teacher, it could have been you know what I mean? At no point was I given any extra kind of information that was dun dun dun, you know what I mean? So it was kind of just a letdown in terms of pacing for a mystery, I guess, if that makes sense. I gave this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I read Longshadow by Olivia Atwater. This is the third book in the Regency fairy tales. This is the third book in the series. I don't think you have to read them in order, but I would suggest I would suggest to do that. In this book, we follow a character who's somewhat related to the characters in the first book. Her name's Abigail. Her father is like the Lord Sorcerer of England, and they kind of come across this mystery. A bunch of like high society young women who are like coming out into society have been turning up dead, and some fae have also recently gone missing. So Abigail kind of investigates this kind of with her father, but mostly she also meets someone who's also like interested in these happenings, and together they kind of investigate. Fae are a like something that is accepted in this universe, but they don't usually interact as much. But you know, our characters do go back and forth between like our world and like the Fae world. Fae are a huge part of the story. What I kind of like didn't know going in is that this was kind of sapphic, and I was really pleasantly surprised. I think I enjoyed the story of this one more. I also feel like I have to mention like the way the magic works. It's very like there's no like rules or anything. Fae can kind of just do like almost anything, and you kind of just have to roll with it. It feels like magical realism, but it is fantasy, you know what I mean? It kind of has that kind of whimsy feeling. I wouldn't say it's cozy, because like there's some darker elements and there are some high stakes. This doesn't feel very romantic at times, but the romance is dominant enough at some parts of the story that if you're just going in for like a Fae story, you're gonna be interrupted by that romance. But if you're just there for the romance, you're gonna have a whole other storyline to deal with. So it's very 50-50. It doesn't specifically feel like fantasy romance. And I know people really loved the first one. I liked it. It wasn't amazing for me, and in the moment I do really like my reading experience, but after I finish, it kind of just feels like okay, like it's not super memorable after the fact. So spoiler, I guess I'm gonna do a book haul, unhaul soon, and I'm probably gonna get rid of all 3 of these books. So yeah, I think I might have given this like 3.5 out of 5 stars. After that, I listened to Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun by Elle Cosimano. This series started off so strong for me, and it's still like fun and entertaining, which is what I really come back for. But parts of the story really kind of just make my like eye twitch, you know? It's that kind of like irritating, like ugh type feeling. If you haven't read this story, it's fairly popular, but in this book we follow Finley Donovan, who is a recently single mother. Her husband's a piece of shit. I hate him. Like, he needs to die. I don't know why he hasn't died. Spoiler, he's not dead yet. In the first book, she's like struggling financially, and she goes to have a meeting with her agent at like a public like restaurant, like a Panera, and while she's describing the plot of her next like romantic suspense novel, someone overhears her conversation with her agent and misunderstands and actually believe Finley's doing the things that she's describing. They think she's a hitman or hitwoman, and some strange woman contracts Finley to kill her husband for like quite a sum of money, and Finley obviously like doesn't want to, but like a part of like a voice in her head's like, well, maybe we should just like look into this. And her like babysitter slash friend Vero kind of get wrapped up in a bunch of drama. This is definitely not like an episodic series. You should definitely start book 1. And it was very funny and charming, the first book. A lot of people kind of described it as cozy, which it really isn't cozy. It's just funny. But by book 3, the situations that Finley has gotten herself in with her nanny Vero are kind of ridiculous and like very far-fetched. Like, I know the police in the United States are kind of incompetent sometimes, but like at this point, like some of the things these girls are doing, these women are doing, I'm like, you're gonna like, I'm surprised you're not in freaking like maximum security lockup, because what? Yeah, it's I can suspend my disbelief, right? I'm reading fiction, but sometimes I'm like, okay, well, she's doing this now, you know? Since book 1, I've always known that the love interest, or one of the love interests, was gonna be a police officer, and that's like fine, I guess. I don't really like mystery thrillers with police main characters. It's like not my thing. It's just like a thing that I don't like reading. It's like a trope that I don't like reading. I don't like reading from cop main characters, so that's fine. Finley's not a cop, but this third book was very like cop focused, very propaganda, if you can say. And for some people that might be okay. I just wasn't like in the mood for it at all. I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars. So, but I did read my first Ilona Andrews. I read Magic Bites. This is the first book in the Kate Daniels series. I have been on a like urban fantasy kind of kick. I've been wanting to read a lot of them, specifically these kinds of stories with this familiar format where we follow usually like a very spunky like female main character, and she kind of gets involved in like supernatural paranormal drama, which is what this series is. I would assume this is kind of one of the OGs, or at least one of the ones that is kind of more recognizable. I really like the concept of this one. This takes place in a world that kind of tries to find this balance between like magic and tech kind of eras, and obviously we are in a very like tech heavy era like in our own lives, but in this book, in this world, tech kind of not completely doesn't work, but it's not working as strong as it once was. Like skyscrapers collapse, that whole thing. So it's a very magic heavy world, and there's like bursts of that in the world, but for the most part it's very magic focused. And I think that's just like a really cool concept. And yeah, we follow Kate. She is a mercenary who is currently working with a few other people to find out who killed a very good friend, family member of hers. Your typical kind of urban paranormal fantasy type of mystery heroine type story. And something that I realized that I really love about urban fantasies in this vein is that I need a good balance of like that mystery that our main character is investigating, looking into, and personal like interpersonal drama, which this book did have. Like, you know, if it's not like boyfriend troubles or family troubles or friend troubles, or you know, something very personal, kind of like soap opera-y to go along with that mystery, I'm gonna struggle getting through it, especially if it's like the first book in this type of series. In general, these first books in these urban fantasies are a little bit struggle bus to get through, setting up the world and all that kind of stuff. But I actually really enjoyed this one, and I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. I'm very excited to continue on in the rest of the series, and I would love to read more from this author duo. So yeah, I read a manga. I think I'm gonna read more. I used to read them all the time when I was really younger, and like really young, and I haven't in a while. But I picked up Cinderella's Closet by Wakana Yanai. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is a really cute story. In this, we follow a young woman who went to Tokyo for university. She's been in university for about a year, but early on she kind of thought that when she would move to Tokyo, she'd become like a very like city woman. She thought she'd really take part in like city life, you know, being her best, most confident self. And I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say she like let herself go. She just doesn't really put too much emphasis on herself. She works like a minimum wage job along with school stuff, and she, you know, she doesn't put a lot of effort in her individuality, which is fine. It happens in university, but she didn't think that this would be her life 1 year going to Tokyo. She has a big crush on one of her co-workers, and she kind of lets it drop that her birthday's coming up soon, and he's like, oh, I'll take you out for drinks, you know, if you want to. And she's obviously so excited, but she knows physically, you know, appearance wise, she needs work. And I really don't care. I'm a sweats and t-shirt type girl, but she wants to put more effort into her appearance. She runs into this woman that she meets, I think in her apartment building, and she is beautiful, gorgeous, heels, the makeup, the hair, all that. And our main character approaches her and is like, you're so pretty, could you like give me some tips? I'm gonna go kind of on a date with this guy that I really like. And this girl's like, yeah, sure, like I'll help you out, why not? She gets ready for her date, goes out to see the guy, and he like forgets, or he has like a second job, and he's like, oh, rain check, I totally forgot, I have another job. I'll take you out some other time, you look really pretty though. And she's like, oh, that's fine. She's obviously super upset, so she goes back to her friend who gave her the makeover, very Cinderella, you know, inspired. And her friend go out instead. Might as well, since she's already dressed up, she's ready to go out on the town. She gets a little smashed, you know, they went to a club, it's her birthday, she can legally drink now. She wakes up the next morning, and her friend, the one who gave her a makeover, is actually a guy who sometimes presents feminine and she did not know, and there might be like romance there. I thought that was like the cutest concept ever. That's all volume 1. It's like volume 1 chapter 1. It's not like a spoiler or anything. That's pretty much like the summary that you kind of get. I thought this was like the cutest thing ever. I'm pretty sure that our main character's friend does use like both he, him, and she, her pronouns depending on like how they're presenting. They haven't really gone into a deep conversation about this person's identity, so I thought this was the cutest thing ever. I haven't read a manga in forever, so I like gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I think it did exactly what it needed to do. I really want to continue on. The next thing I read, I don't know, I mean, it counts for me, so I'm going to talk about it, but it's not on Goodreads. It is a like webtoon Korean like manhwa novel called Bad Thinking Diary. This is a like sapphic, more adult story. In this series we also follow a college student. She's in her 2nd year, and her best friend go to the same university. They are in like the same major, and at the beginning of the story she kind of has a very like naughty dream about her best friend, and she like tells her straight up like, hey, just so you know, like I had this dream. And she kind of is very, she doesn't really take it seriously, but you know, feelings come up. She's never had a relationship, which means she's never done some explicit things in her own life, and it's a whole kind of discovery, birth of a relationship. This one's very graphic. I do not suggest reading this in public, just in case someone looks over your shoulder. I don't even think I can put the cover of the thing here, so I'll just put like a random one random page of the graphic here to kind of see the art style. I think the art style is beautiful. It's very like new-ish art style. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I read like all 44. I read like 44 of like the official translated graphic webtoon, so I thought I'd talk about it. So, and then the most recent thing that I finished reading was The Dragon and the Pearl by Jeannie Lin. I've been wanting to read Jeannie Lin forever. This is the 2nd book in the Tang Dynasty series. I don't believe you have to read these in order. They kind of just take place during the Tang Dynasty, which admittedly I know very little about. I know like the general like time period this takes place in, but as far as like historical accuracies go, which I don't go to historical romance for historical accuracies, I wouldn't know. It probably goes over my head, whatever. But in this one we follow a woman who used to be the concubine of the last emperor. He has since passed, and before his passing, since she was so favored by him, he kind of set up a life for her after his passing, which I don't know the rules of being a concubine for a Chinese emperor, but apparently like she cannot be wed or anything to anyone else even after the emperor's passing because of his like connection to like heavenly stuff. I don't know. So she's pretty content to kind of live out the rest of her life by herself in this little home by a river, whatever. But then a governor kind of shows up at her door and is like, hey, you are kind of in danger and I'm here to rescue you. She doesn't really buy it, but she can't really do anything about it. He's like kind of known for being a little bit of a warlord, so she's like, how can I refuse? Like, I can't refuse. But it's a romance between these two characters. There's a lot of political drama that happens here, which I thought I was going to really enjoy going into it, but the political drama from the beginning to the end of the story felt very convoluted to me. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for all these politics in this romance. It did wrap up well, but the journey to get to that end point in the politics of this story was a little jumbled in my head, I guess. But I did like the romance. The tone of the overall story was very somber. It's not very like lighthearted and like giggly, but it was like pretty, you know. Maybe this wasn't the best Jeannie Lin to start with, but it's the summary is the one that like captured me the most. So if you have recommendations for Jeannie Lin, I would love to hear them. If not, I'll probably just like go with her most read or her most like highly rated next time. This one was okay. It wasn't badly written though. I just maybe was in the right headspace for what this book had to offer. I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars, but I will still give this author a chance because I feel like this might be more me than the author. Anyways, those are all the books I wanted to talk about so far. I think I will continue on with more recent reads as opposed to like a monthly wrap up. Like I said before, recent reads actually kind of help motivate me to read more than like doing monthly wrap ups. You know, I can get these videos out faster. They shouldn't be super lengthy 40-minute videos. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So talk to me down below in the comments about anything that I've talked about. I'd love to hear anything you have to say down below. I will link my social medias down below as well as some far more important links. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.